You're listening to the Mackay Safety Our Clients podcast, brought to you by 4PS Software and the Bullion Group. You can find out more about safety compliance and safety management and the implementation of systems, independent audits and incident investigations by going to mackaysafety.com.au.
Welcome to the Mackay Safety Our Clients podcast, brought to you by 4PS Software and the Bullion Group. I'm your host, Kieran Moran. The Mackay Safety Our Clients podcast is designed to assist businesses become safe, as we believe safety forms the foundation for a successful, accountable business. Mackay Safety clients span all industries, including mining, construction, rail, ports and engineering, and range from small to medium enterprises to major multinational companies. It's our goal for these podcasts to not only assist you with implementing safety systems and procedures, but through listening to our client stories, understand the importance of safety within your own business and how you can make everyone involved, including you, your staff and your clients, safe. On this episode of the Mackay Safety Our Clients podcast, we have Corey Vaughn, General Manager of JCV Services. With over 20 years in the mining construction industry, Corey has built several companies, including JCV Services, who supply quality maintenance services throughout the Bowen Basin. With extensive knowledge in quality water management systems, JCV Services has the ability to undertake any water and/or poly project, which range from simple dewatering duties to large supply, installation and ongoing maintenance of pumps and large pipelines. Welcome, Corey, to the podcast.
Thanks, mate. Glad to be here.
Well, Corey, we're actually going to get into a couple things here because I can see that you've got your hands dipped in a little bit of innovation as well on top of JCV Services, but we'll get onto that. But let us a little bit know about JCV Services. What do they do?
Yeah, JCV Services is a maintenance company predominantly working in process plants in the coal industry in the Bowen Basin. So our core line of work is pipe work. So HDPE, poly, tailings, water supply lines, pump out lines, process pipe work that they utilise to transport the saleable product to the train and sell it. And we also have a component where we actually do water management. So we move water where they want it and we get rid of it from where they don't.
And what's some of the main issues that you do find within that, offering a service like this? And water is a lot of people pass by water very quickly, but it's actually, as far as I'm concerned, I'm an ex-plumber myself, and water is one of the most dangerous elements out there. How have you seen with the business and in relation to using water and water flow?
Yeah, look, we wouldn't say we aren't exposed to the dangerous elements of that water. I suppose with what we do, it's a lot of abrasive slurries that they're doing. So there's, you look at the dangers, and that is a pipe failing, and you've got a high pressure discharge in the vicinity of a person. Our pipe work is suspended. We're working at heights. Sometimes we're getting into tight spaces, so we're working confined space. A lot of our projects, these pipelines run for kilometres and kilometres, and it's remote working. Out in the middle of nowhere, away from easy access to, I suppose, safety and resources if something bad happens. But obviously, we have to manage that.
And what sort of projects are you working on at the moment?
We've got various wash plant maintenance contracts. So we have guys that are on site designing, moving, working close with the process engineers. The process engineer will do a calculation that if they move this pipe over to here and dump it into this segment, they can get 0.05% more efficiency out of the plant. So we work closely with the environmental department. So we're obviously, when rain or any sort of water, it has to be contained on a mine site. We contain that water. We transport that water to filtration systems, and we obviously recycle a lot of that water as well. So we're sort of moving that water back to put it into that coal processing, recycling that water to be used.
I can imagine with working with the environmental departments and so forth that you've seen a lot of changes over the years that you've been involved in this, and also the requirements and legislation and so forth in being able to implement a lot of the work that you do. How have you seen that change?
Oh, look, it's definitely gotten a lot tighter, especially with some of these new bigger coal mines coming on, and the media exposure that happens. That the government needs to make sure that these companies are doing the right thing within the areas that they're working. I find that a lot of the green, when you talk about environmental, a lot of the green innovative technology that's coming out, the mining companies are the first ones that are jumping on. Great example is, their main aim is not to have a drop of diesel on a mine site. So they're looking at hydrogen and electric technology to sort of, I think it's all about reputation, revolved around share price. The way they are, it's still a hole in the ground and they're still damaging the earth, and the product might not be environmentally friendly, but I see that the mining companies are trying to be first to adapt into green technology to run their mining companies. So, but look, the containment of water or an unplanned discharge off site, there's a lot of more inspections. There's a lot more safety nets put around the infrastructure that we're building on site to not have that environmental incident, which creates a bad reputation, which obviously I look at affects their share price.
And as you mentioned in there, innovation, and we'll get onto that in the future. But let's start with yourself. How did you get into the industry yourself? Let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah, I worked for a company that they were a contract pump crew. So the mine was very wet. It was mining through a creek. So every time they put a tooth of a bucket of an excavator in the ground, water basically bubbled up. It was that wet. So we used to manage that water. We used to pump that water out and into a dam and then use it to wash the coal. I left that job. I went out on my own with my brother-in-law for 3 months' work. He was part of a construction of a new mine, and I started applying for jobs. I wanted to be a wash plant operator. Go on retirement job, go and work in a process plant. But obviously that 3 months' work turned into 6 months' work, turned into, I think we're 16 years in business.
What inspired you? What inspired you to become a wash plant operator?
Oh well, I did a lot of maintenance. I'm a boiler maker by trade, so
okay.
I did a lot of wash plant maintenance as part of the company that I worked with. We used to do a lot of the shutdowns, and it was all pipe work and that sort of thing. So, and you'd go to these shutdowns, but and you work in with the operators that were there. So an operator of a wash plant on a mine site must be a tradesman. It's usually one of three: a boiler maker, a fitter, or an electrician. So they want that trade aspect to operate the plant, but they've also got if something goes pear-shaped or it breaks down, they've got the trade skills to be able to repair it. So having a trade background, I didn't want to do my trade anymore. I wanted to be a wash plant operator.
And so, okay, then how did you end up at JCV?
Yeah, so again, I just went out on my own, and similar story to a lot of people around town. We buy a ute and we put a toolbox on top, and I just kept saying yes. So I went from a 1-2 man shows. I think back in 2010, 11, 12, I think at peak we had about 65 employees. So yeah, it was one of those things. Can you do this? And I just kept saying yes, and found the people that we could do it, and just kept growing and growing and growing. So it went from, look, I'll just do this for a time until I can get a full-time job, to having a fairly successful business out of it.
And how did you manage that, growing a business quite, I'm not sure how quick that grew, but at the same time, saying yes to everything and moving forward. And one of the things that we do discuss as well is building a business and so forth. And how did you manage all that?
Well, tell you the truth, I didn't. It's a funny thing because, I was a tradesman, and I always say to myself, I've never made a bad decision at the time. Hindsight's a good thing, because a couple of weeks later, I probably should have made that decision. And the downturn that hit, 14, 15, was massive education for us. So I realised that high turnover doesn't equal high profit, and we downsized very quickly. We identified what we were good at, which was the process plant maintenance. We stayed away from project work, which was I classed as high risk. You either make good money or you lose money. So I sort of steered away from that project work and concentrated on maintenance and continuity of work. So that I wanted to create a relationship with our clients that we could supply good people and not be too big where it became bums in seats, so to speak, where it only takes one person under your employ to wreck it for the other 10 or 15 guys you might have on. So we really, through that downturn, I went and educated myself, went and did a high level a business course that was recommended to me from some pretty predominant business people around town that had done it, which was basically life-changing. And when you talk about my innovation company, it grew out of this owner-manager program is what it's called. It actually grew out of that program. And the program basically taught us, not telling us how to butter our bread. We're successful business people, but probably we weren't given the correct tools because we were all trade. I was a tradesman. I was never I never done a business course. I was going with my gut feeling and having an understanding and trying to understand businesses that I'd worked for in the past and how they operated and trying to take the good aspects out of that and put it into my own. But I did this high level business course and these days, a little bit more structured. The old put people smarter than me in positions that can free up my time to sort of work on building and growing the business smartly. We don't want to take over the world like I was back in the boom, like I said, 2012, 2010, 11, and realise that you can make more money with low turnover and higher profit margin than having all these overheads and people and trying to aim for that big turnover number, which was a little bit silly because it was stressful, headaches, and I've learned a lot over the last probably 9 years.
Okay, well, speaking of learning a lot, and as we've mentioned earlier in relation to innovation and innovative products, you've managed to create a product called 2Sensor and create the business as well, 2Sensor Pty Ltd, and it provides accurate condition monitoring and reporting of deteriorating pipe installations. Let us know a little bit about that.
Yeah, just quite simple. It was very accidental. We had to repair a pipe that on a wash plant, coal wash plant, tailings line. It had shut the whole process plant down for 7 hours at a cost of $100,000 per hour. So it was a $700,000 lost production cost. And the manager basically just said, "Look, I can't afford for this to happen. Find me a product that will tell me when that pipe is going to fail before it does." Now, this is a slurry pipe, so it's like sandpaper on the inside wall, and it just slowly wears that pipe through until it blows. And that's what provides JCV with its maintenance work. Those pipes fail, we come in and repair and replace. I went looking for a product, looking for a sensor, something that could monitor the internal abrasive wear of a pipe. And we found a lot of things that can measure, but there was nothing out there that could monitor. So we started looking at different measuring technologies and come up with our commercialised product, patented. We were able to patent it, called 2Sensor. So it measures each millimetre of wear. It measures the speed of our wear, and through our software, it with the speed of that wear data, we're able to forecast when it's to fail. And a great example of that, if it's 10 millimetres thick, it's wearing 1 millimetre per week. Logic says you've got 10 weeks till this is going to fail. So that's a simple version on how our software works. And with current technology at the moment, we're able to make it battery powered. It sends a signal back to a switchboard, and that switchboard converts it into data. And through 4G SIM card, we're able to send that to a cloud network and report on that data. So gives it current condition, and then obviously forecasts failure, and we're able to send an email or an alarm notification back to the maintenance department to say, listen, this is going to fail in 12 weeks. Gives them time to order the new pipe and schedule it in for a shutdown, replace it without any interruption to their production.
And from what I'm hearing, that is starting to take off a little bit.
It is. It's a funny thing. Created in the Bowen Basin, but the Bowen Basin is my hardest market. We've got distribution throughout Africa and the southern Middle East with one company, and Chile, India, the US, and we're in discussions at the moment with some companies over in Canada as well. So it's look, I got told once that Australians have globally have a good reputation in two things, and it's sport and mining. So I do feel that I am running off. As soon as I mention Australian mining innovation globally, they go, we want it, because we've got such a good reputation for mining in this country. So, but the Bowen Basin, we're doing some stuff over in the iron ore over in the west, but the coal industry is a hard market.
It certainly is, and it's always interesting in relation to at home can be your hardest market. Hence why a lot of people end up going overseas first, and they'll hear it from over there in the end and buy it from here and go, oh, was that here in the first place? So, But of course, you talked about building the business, so forth, and getting your business in place and getting it right, and talked about overheads there, and putting your systems in place. Of course, is a major thing as well, and in relation to you develop some software as well. So, of course, that leads us into Mackay Safety and 4PS software and Mick Storch. You have done a little bit of work with Mick, and as we were speaking earlier before the podcast, so the product that you have developed and so forth, that's how you actually met Mick.
Yeah, we did some programs through Resource Industry Network, and had met Mick on the outside. Had no real requirement to have his services, and most people in the mining industry will understand that having your own health and safety systems, you might have them, you never use them, because as soon as you step on a mine site, they go out the window and you come under the BHPs, the Anglos, the Rio Tintos, the Glencores, and you have to use their health and safety systems. So, but we happened to win a contract with a company which we deal with a 200-kilometre pipeline supplying water to their construction, civil, and also eventually, once the construction's finished, we'll be supplying directly. We're supplying to the mine at the moment, but that's where it'll end up. Because we're off-site, we do not come under normal, step on site, come under their own health and safety systems. So we had to have our own. Now, we've always had our own, but they're very outdated. And Mackay Safety they really, really helped us out.
And how important do you find that in relation to, so as you said, you thought you didn't really sort of need it. Once you step onto the side, it's there, but just within the own business and getting everything in place, and also keeping your workers safe and making sure that they are safe. And as you've done, you've built the business up and so forth. And, it would have to be something very important for one thing, to protect your workers, but also to protect yourself and the business.
Of course. Yeah. Look, we've also, as business owners, we've got that element of risk all the time when it comes to safety. So making sure our guys are, first and foremost, are going to be able to come home of an afternoon. It really started this specific project. The importance of that was compounded by the fact that I've always had someone else's systems that I trusted to rely on, that we worked under. Now, having to have our own was a totally different ballgame. And, the more it's funny because the more I spoke to Mick, the more I was just blown away on what he had created. And it was just a perfect alignment with the contract, us and him, because we have got 20 odd guys spread over 200 kilometres of a pipeline. And, the meeting at one point and having toolbox talks and like you do on a mine site, then going off to work was logistically impossible because of the greater distance that we're working over. And the more I spoke to Mick, and the more with his app-based reporting, and a lot of the stuff was structured specifically for us, and the ease that he was able to do that. His app has just been a game changer. And I even look at current systems on mining company sites, which is very paper-based, and just think, like my harvest market's the Bowen Basin, and change is hard. For a BHP or an Anglo or a Glencore, all these mining companies, to see what Mick has developed, it eliminates that paper. It's instant reporting. It's having understanding on where the guys are and what they're doing, and the risk assessments they've taken, whether it be a Take 5 or a SLAM or a JSA. And then we were able to include lots of other reporting documents within his app, which maintenance and servicing on equipment, pre-start checks on vehicles. And then when that reporting comes through, we're able to action those reports. And it's just made, it started off with, can you supply us with a safety system, to this whole process structure that he's been able to provide. We would not be able to run this contract today without it.
And how do you feel that has also, as you said there, it's streamlined your systems a lot better and get it into place and so forth. How do you feel that has sort of improved the business? And especially, a lot of money was obviously maybe going out a little bit more, and trying to contact people. You said 200 kilometre pipelines and so forth. And of course, you got the 4P mobile system from 4PS and so forth, and the 4PS software. But how has that really sort of fundamentally, improved the business?
Oh, well, logistically, trying to talk to these guys every day is very difficult because of the vast distances, but it's reporting back to the client as well. We've got some KPIs around slams and Take 5s, and even the logistically, our manager for the client that we report to, he needs to report back to his powers to be that we are doing the right thing, or we have systems in place to protect us. And those reports need to go back to them on a daily basis. And with the Port 4PS system, the guys do their Take 5s, or they do a JSA, or they do a servicing on a pump that's asset owned. The asset's owned by the client. Like, all these different reporting systems, with one click of a button, come back to our cloud software, or their cloud report folders, and we're able to generate a report and send that back through to the client every day, back to their health and safety department, so they have an understanding that we're dotting our I's, we're crossing our T's, we're doing everything that we possibly can to protect our staff while working for them. It's a little bit different. I suppose at the moment it's a construction site. But at some stage, that construction site will finish, and it'll be just our guys that'll be running these distances, checking these lines and moving this water, and having the confidence to know that the guys are looking after themselves and they're reporting on the risks that they are facing every day, and we'll be able to assess those risks and as a team come together if the risks are too high, and then have the client have the confidence that we are reporting and seeing what we're going through each day sort of improves their systems as well. So it has been a game changer, and I'll go back and say that I wish that this system we had on every site.
As you said there, with confidence from the client, which is one of the main things as well. And when you're tendering for a project, does it also help to have a system like 4PS on there to sort of prove the factor to those clients, and those clients are confident of the process that is being used?
Of course, yeah, of course. The safety aspect's always number one, and you've probably highlighted something I haven't thought of, because we're going on 9 months with 4PS, but I know in the past, if I'd had 4PS and I included a part of a tender, I think it'd go a long way on putting us as a front runner on previous projects that we might have, because they need the confidence in the contractor that they're using has their safety sorted. Their guys or their people on site are number one when it comes to assessing dangers and assessing risk. And having 4PS probably in past tenders and putting a presentation as part of the tender on what our system is and how we operate it, and the way Mick presents that, I am 100% certain and would have put us in the lead of some of these tenders.
And I also noticed that you're getting some of the membership benefits as well from 4PS.
Especially the HR. So, the HR support is something that 4PS and Mick supply, which, those changes happen all the time. And, great example, we've just gone, this specific construction project that we're on, that we're using 4PS, it's the construction budget's running out of money, and we will change over to an operational budget. But we had to make, I think we had to cut about 12 guys off our workforce for a short period of time, because the money's just not available at the moment. But come November, December, we change over to operational budget. But to make those cuts, I had to make sure I did it correctly, and I didn't have anything come back on me with redundancies and that sort of thing. And that support, that 4PS, outside of the safety aspect, with the HR support, has been invaluable.
Okay, believe it or not, we are at the end of the podcast, Corey. Thank you very much for joining us. If people want to get in contact with JCV Services, how can they do that?
Yeah, jump on our website. It's www.jcvservices.com.au, and have a look at what we're doing there, and reach out. Yeah, we're happy to help.
And don't forget also, if you need to get accurate condition monitoring of any deteriorating or pipe work that you have out there, get onto the 2Sensor as well.
Yeah, so 2Sensor websites, www.2sensor.com.
Thank you very much for joining us, Corey.
Thank you very much.
You've been listening to the Mackay Safety Our Clients podcast, brought to you by 4PS Software and the Bullion Group. To find out more, including how Mackay Safety can assist you with implementing work health and safety initiatives within your business, go to mackaysafety.com.au.